all know that Mr. Miller was in the movie, right? Because how many times has he said he was in the movie?
He was in the ICU.
Oh.
He started in it.
Ever since the movie started recording.
Truth be known, Mr. Miller was held up in security, and Miss Williams had to go down and rescue him.
Fact.
Because
That's a fact.
I was discovered way before Mr. Miller, and I actually get a little bit of an acting role in the movie, not just playing a comatose patient.
That's right. That's right. Listen,
So,
all that's verified.
we are honored today to have some very
walking
special
down
guests,
the
and I
gurney.
made some quick notes
that's right, 'cause it's
about
away.
all of the wonderful things that they have done. They are taking time from their busy filming schedule to meet with us. Just Mr. Miller's radio TV program, yay, and a few extras that I invited personally. So we are excited that they took a break. They just wrapped up the movie here in Jonesboro, and we are so excited that hopefully there will be more movies coming to Arkansas, so that will be pretty cool. But in all seriousness, this 7-time Emmy award-winning duo of Jordan Long and Matt Glass, plus Tara Perry, are the founders of HCT Media and have made a name for themselves in the documentary world before moving over to fiction. Their clients have included the Jim Henson Company, Paramount Pictures, BBC, as well as directing Karen Gillian's Guardians of the Galaxy fame, directorial film debut, and many more.
Yeah.
Their work has been featured on MSNBC's NPR's Fresh Air, Entertainment Weekly, and the Huffington Post, just to name a few. We're thrilled to have them with us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Long, Matt Glass, Tara Perry.
I need to introduce you a little bit better. Guys, thanks for coming. This is this is our favorite thing to do when it comes to outside of filmmaking because especially Matt and I, we came from way smaller towns than this. I'm from Bald Knob, Arkansas, so, you know, real big town. Matt comes from a real small town called Ogden, Utah, and obviously Tara Perry, if you guys don't know, comes from Jonesboro, so she's the big city girl out of us. Also, just to give you a little info, yeah, Matt and I have done a lot in the filmmaking world, and so has Tara. She's also an Emmy winner. Her TV show, she's also played to almost 1 million people. She's played at Carnegie Hall, done some really amazing things in the film world as well. So we're lucky. She produces a lot of stuff with us, writes with us, and acts in a lot of our things. So I feel very lucky that you're here with us. What we basically want to do, we know when we were kids that nobody told us that we could do this job. And we had no idea how to get there. And what was it? It's less than 7 years ago we moved out to LA. And within that time, we've made about 54 films. And we've really made our way on our own. We don't really work for anyone else. We work for ourselves. And what I think a lot of people need to understand is that 90% of the things that we've made, nobody asked for. Nobody wanted them. Nobody cared. But we made them anyway because we wanted to. And I imagine that a lot of you in here want to make things. But there's always that thing where you're like, who's going to watch it? You can't worry about that. A lot of the times, nobody watched what we did, ever. There's a lot of things. There's things that have got us further in our career than anything else that have 300 views on YouTube. But the right people saw it. Those got us our jobs at Paramount. Those got us other ambitious projects that we didn't even know existed. And that's something that, especially for you guys are getting to make stuff. Like I just heard that maybe in 9th grade you get to make a horror film. Is that right? And you get to make, you're having these experiences that we never got. So you guys are leaps and bounds above where we were when we were your age. I think that's really cool. So we just want to walk through and kind of tell you, show you a few things that we've done and have you guys ask questions after we kind of give you a good base of what we do and how we do it. And feel free to ask anything that you want as we go along because we just want to help you feel confident to go out there and make your own stuff. And that's a big thing is that for me, before we get started in showing things, there's a couple things I want you to know. I want you to know that nobody's going to really ever ask for what you want to do. and that you got to just show it. I want you to know that you're going to fail, and you're going to fail really, really hard. And that's awesome. Because in failure, you learn the most. That's why when you hear one-hit wonders that don't go on and do anything else, because they don't know why it worked. But if the things that you've done have failed and failed and failed, within that failure is always going to be something that works. And you're going to take it, and if somebody's going to laugh at one little section in that film, or they're going to cry in one little section in that film when the rest of it sucked. You grab that thing and you build on it. And as you build on those failures, when you have something that works, it's always going to work. You can move it 100 different ways from Sunday, and it's still going to work. So you're going to stay at the top, but it's going to take a little bit longer for you to get there. Failure is your best friend. If you can get past people making fun of you, God, we get made fun of all the time. But you just let it roll off you because you realize that people that make fun of you, honest to God, just are lacking something in themselves. They want to do something. They have a dream that they aren't able to step outside and go for it because it's too scared. Because when you step over that threshold of fear, that's where the best thing lies. But man, is it hard stepping over that. We always get scared. And we'll show you when we were scared, like throughout this hour. But anyway, we'll show you, can we show the Squirrel trailer? And then we'll explain a little bit about this. This was our first fiction feature film that we tried on our own. And here's a little trailer of it.
We could be standing where no one in the history of time has ever stood, okay? We're pioneers. Isn't that exciting?
We're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you don't know where we're going. Because that, to me, sounds like we're lost.
I know where we're going.
Oh.
Yeah, and where we're going is this way.
You pointed here, and then you walked that way.
Yep,
Just saying.
psyched you out.
Okay.
Anyway, we need to get serious for a moment. Times are a bit tough.
This part of the manor hasn't been used in years.
Why not?
It's haunted.
Really?
No,
Okay.
it's just crap.
People are leaving.
You be sure to let me know when you die, all right?
Our maple syrup may have lost its crimson hue and its regenerative properties. But that does not mean that we can lose our focus. It's like my father always said. It only takes one person.
They seem nice enough.
Nice enough. They've merely escorted us to their sixth castle. They spread maple syrup on you like your French toast. That's not nice, that's breakfast.
What does this mean?
It means if you really are trying to get as far away from this place as you can, now you have a fighting chance.
I just wanted some alone time with you, you know?
We're not safe here. I'm not safe here.
You want me to start it off? I love you so much. Yeah, so that was made by 7 people. And that's, what was it, 80 minutes? 82 minutes. And what you don't know is that we have been making documentaries for years. We had won 7 Emmy Awards, right? Like some people care about that stuff, but everybody told us along the way, like, yeah, but you've never made a fiction film. It's a whole lot different. You probably can't pull it off. So after our documentaries, we went and second unit directed a film in Scotland because that's what they said we needed to do. And then we said, okay, we're ready to make a film. And they said, no, but you've never done it yourself. And so we didn't really have any money. So we gathered a little bit and we just went and made a feature film with 7 people over 23 days to show people that we could do it. Because everyone told us no matter everything that we had accomplished, people still said that we weren't ready. And so nobody was gonna give us that opportunity to do it, so we did it ourselves. And out of that is why we're here. And out of here is where we're going next. And so on this film, because of Squirrel, that something nobody asked for, Matt and I were written a check and given the responsibility of going and making that film that we just made in Jonesboro, Arkansas, with David Arquette and Mick Foley and Angela Bettis and all those people. It's our responsibility to make sure that this thing looks good, and that's because of doing something that nobody asked for. So that's really the secret to it. You just have to go. If you have a dream, if you have something you want to do, and just make it. It's not going to be good at first. That's not perfect. What we just made's not going to be perfect. The next thing we make's not going to be perfect. But if you have a desire to keep getting better, it'll just get better and better and better and better and better. And that's our goal, is just to get better every single time and make something even cooler than the last thing that we did. And you'll probably notice that if you guys are writers, if you're musicians, if you are in sports or whatever you are, you probably feel the same way that we do when something happens. When we won 7 Emmy Awards, I woke up the next morning and hated myself. Because that's the way it goes. Because if you're somebody who dreams to be better all the time, nothing's ever going to satisfy you. But that pursuit and that making, or that dreaming, or that going for it, you're always going to feel not enough sometimes. I think that's something that people don't realize about people who they feel have made it. We all feel the same way. We all wake up the next day after a success and feeling like, wow, I'm a fake. Nobody knows it yet, and I can't do anything else. And then you just keep going, you work through that writer's block, and you just keep going. And just know that we all feel that way too. So when you have those highs and lows, man, just ride them. Because that's part of the process, and that's how it goes, and everybody feels that way. But Matt, something you don't know about Matt, especially musicians sitting in here, Matt produces a lot of music for TV and films. So he'll have music that's running in the background of TV shows, or he'll compose the film. He's actually composing the music for 12-Hour Shift, which we just shot. Do you want to talk about kind of how you got it started in that? Because you just started in your basement, right? You do it in your basement still.
I'm not as loud as Jordan, so I mean, that's not an insult on you. It's an insult on me. That's the one thing is whenever we're on. This has nothing to do with anything, but whenever we're on set and I'm trying to order people around, it's always just me going like, "Hey, can you guys grab that hand over there?" And everyone's just like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah. So I started off. I did music before I did movies, I guess, and it was just kind of like I always wanted to be a filmmaker, but it's like such a hard thing to get into by yourself. It's a little easier now because of like computer software and cameras on your phones and stuff, but like when I started out, we had those really crappy VHS camcorders and stuff, so everything looked terrible and sounded terrible. So I was just like, I'm going to concentrate on one thing at a time. So I was like, first I'm going to learn music, and so I was in a band for a while as a drummer, and I didn't like just being the guy who fixed stuff and made everybody else look good, so I started making stuff on my own. And I just had to teach myself how to record in my basement, which is kind of how everybody, I mean, the studios are rarely used nowadays, but like, I mean,
Danny Elfman, we went to Danny Elfman's studio, who makes a lot of music for Disney films.
Avengers
and stuff like that, and his is just basement, you know? It's nothing more than, you know, what anybody else has.
So the music for this, the Squirrel trailer and the movie I made just in my living room in my apartment, really quietly so my neighbors wouldn't yell at me. Anyway, so I started doing music, and first it was just like, you know, rock music and whatever, and then I started doing photography, and I started making music that was like the soundtrack to the photos. And then when we started making movies, actually originally I didn't score the stuff that we shot, but then like after like 4 or 5 short documentaries, I was like, I guess I can try to make music specifically for it, and then it kind of paid off, and then like all the little pieces sort of came together, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that really explains anything, but
yeah, it does.
Yeah, cool.
It's also one of those things that initially KCT did not like the music
Oh, yeah.
for the documentary, the feature documentary that they were doing, but they stuck to their guns. They were like, we're not giving you the final product without his music, and then his music won an Emmy Award just for the music.
Yeah.
It's fun.
You know, you have to remember there's a lot of people that can teach you so much stuff. So don't be afraid to take criticism and learn from it. And the main thing that I'll tell you is, especially when you guys are your age and, God, even my age, whenever someone tells me something that I don't want to hear, it always hurts. It always stings, and I always kind of rebel against it at first. But you soon realize that you have to find those people, your teachers, the people that you trust, that you know are just trying to help you. and something that I gauge everything off of. If someone asks me a question about something we've done, something they don't like about it, if I don't have a good reason for why I don't like what they told me, then they probably have a point. A lot of people, when they're questioning you, especially teachers, when they're questioning you, they just want to see how well you thought out what you did. They can be convinced sometimes, because if you've really thought out everything that you've done, whether it be a paper or a piece of music or a movie, if you've thought it out, that's what they want to hear, that you have an idea for everything that you've put in the film. And not everybody's ever going to like know exactly what you put into those films, the emotions, the tears, the joy, everything. But if you have a reason for doing it, they'll know that, and they'll get something more out of it, which is really cool. Should we show them like $20 one? We'll show you, it's the history of asteroids. It cost us $27 to do in our kitchen. And it's Matt's music. And what we basically were doing, we were making these documentaries, but we wanted to make fiction content. This was before anything. And so we just set arbitrary deadlines for ourselves, and we said, we're going to make something every single week. And we didn't have a lot of money, so most of the things we made were either free or under $30. And then this little film ended up getting into film festivals kind of all over the world, and helping us know we kind of had the talent to do something. This is called The History of Asteroids. It's just puppets and Matt's music and After Effects. He just killed everyone. Bless his heart. So funny. Of course it's sad.
I was gonna have a happy
We're
ending. Nope. So beautiful. The music's so pretty, and it's like never mind that.
It is funnier that way. But you notice that no one's speaking in that, but there's still a story being told, right? Because we were terrified to tell the story because We were terrified that people were going to judge us. We were terrified of like hearing actors or puppeteers like say things out loud for us. So that's how we started. We started every single like little video we did added something that we had never done before. So this is the first time we had told a story. Oh, the other one?
No, I'm just saying.
I have a question about that. What were the little heads?
The heads,
With the lights coming out?
they were little lights from Hobby Lobby that were just like, they go in the bottom of like a planter and like you just twist them on. So I just painted over them and scratched out the eyes. And there's only 2 of them, but we just multiplied them in post.
You only made 2 of a little puppet.
Yeah, and so I cut out all the cardboard things. So I cut out all the buildings and then gave them to Matt. He put them into After Effects, and then he just kind of like built that world around it. So, and
Is that technically animation?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the world is pretty sure.
Yeah, it's animation. It's just a different style, and you just do what you can. But that's something like I think a lot of people don't know. Is like everyone kind of looks at us and they're like, man, your job just must be really, really fun. And yeah, it's really, really fun. But I'd say 70% of it is terrible. It's just like paperwork. It's building things after you get tired of building things. Like the first 50 buildings were super fun. And then the other 200 after that weren't very fun. But that's the thing, like you can either do that, like no matter what you do, parts of it is going to be hard. Parts of it are going to be things that you don't want to do. But man, are they helpful. And like all these like little jobs and stuff I've had along my way that I didn't think would have any impact on what I do and I hated them, I have used every single one of them. So just know like, man, when you want to pursue like your dream or something that you really want to do, you guys know practice sucks. But man, is it fun when you get in the game and things actually happen and everything that you've learned helps you like beat everybody. That's really fun. And this next, we can go ahead and play the next video. You don't have to play all of it. Just the first 30 seconds is great. This is another one. This was right after History of Asteroids. And this was us like looking at the world as a cinematic world and how do we do things with nothing. And I thought we came up with a lot of cool like effects that, yeah. Hey, that's good. That's enough. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so like, man, that's all shot in our house, right? Our little bitty tiny apartment in Pasadena. I just pulled out all the food from the fridge, cleaned it up a little bit, had him sit in there. The couch, right? The couch looks like his little hand crawls out. All I did was put bricks underneath the couch and raise it up to about this high so he could slink under. We kept the frame stationary, and I think you maybe had to cut yourself out of the back, right?
Under the table as well.
Right. But that's the thing, like you guys can try that in 8th grade, like you're in your, or is it 9th grade, your horror film. Like split screening, I mean like there are just so many things that you can find all of this stuff on YouTube, but like that type of stuff is stuff that you can do right now. And you can figure out. You can figure out how to like do split screens and make things really just look odd and unique and just look at the world that you have around you in a different way and play with it. And that's what we did in our apartment. We were just like, man, we don't have any money to go out anywhere. Let's just figure out how to make something unique right here. And that's something that you guys need to realize is like you live in this life all the time. And so to you, it's really boring. But to us, like your stories are the ones that we don't ever hear. Especially we live in LA. Like your world is so beyond anything that we know. So tell those stories. Tell your stories. Tell like how you wake up in the morning, how you live your life. Like that's fascinating to us. To you, it's boring. But to us, like we were just talking, I grew up my whole life in Bald Knob, and I never realized like how beautiful the winters were here. And like Matt came in, and we're working on our next feature film we're going to shoot here, and he saw the grass. Like the grass here is really oddly like almost a white. Like it almost looks like a light brown white, and it just looks different than like anywhere else in the United States. And we were like, God, that's beautiful. Okay, we're going to film our next film right here during the winter when the grass is dead because it looks beautiful. And it's like just being able to look at those things. Like look at the world differently tomorrow and see what's unique about it to you, because that's probably the most fascinating thing about you, and it feels the most mundane. It's really fun. What else? What's next? Ghost? You want to see our first thing we made in Arkansas? So we made this for $300. This is one of the first things that we did with writing a script, people talking. It was very nerve-wracking for us. This is the second thing that Tara was in with us. The first thing, we were too scared to write dialogue, so it was just a silent film. But this is Ghost of the Ozarks. It was shot just a couple hours from here. We shot it in 3 days. It cost us $300, and we just used what we had. And I think 3 of us were the camera. It was 3 camera crew and 2 actors and myself having to act in it. But yeah, this is Ghost of the Ozarks. This is a little trailer. And like, you've lived around this stuff your entire life, but to people in LA, like, they'd never seen that before. So it looked like we spent a ton of money to shoot that, because we had horses, we had whatever, like beautiful woods, all this kind of stuff, but it cost us nothing because we thought about what we had right in front of us, and we utilized it.
Well, that's exactly how we made Squirrel, too.
That's how we made Squirrel. Like, that movie that we showed you earlier, we literally looked at a location that we had available to us, and then we sat down with a big piece of paper, and we're like, this location would look cool on film, this location would look cool on film, this would look cool on film, and Matt went and took that and wrote the whole script based around that. And you know, we didn't pay for that location because there's no way we could afford it, but we had access to it, so we used it the best that we knew how. I think I've talked probably enough. Do you guys want to see anything else, or do you want to just ask us questions? What would you guys like to do? See more? Okay, we did a puppet film that we shot in our backyard called Rain. Can we pull up that trailer?
The next one.
The next one? Awesome.
There is a town, somewhere, a dreary place.
Sacrifices must be made. Would you rather it be you?
Hero was the man who had everything. Almost.
The sun.
I dream of sunlight. This job is no burden, it's an honor, and he's not selling.
Can be rather dangerous.
2 bottles of water is all you can bring. 1 for the way up. 1 for the way down.
Oh yeah, and I think, and that just went on. We had a 2-year festival run with that, so it's now available. You guys can watch that on our YouTube channel and stuff like that to see what it is. We have like a 5-part series of behind the scenes too, if you guys want to see kind of like what it took to make that and all that stuff. But as you can see, that's Matt's voice, by the way, narrating that, which is awesome. But that's the thing, right? Like, you probably got made fun of when you were a kid for like doing all those weird voices and all that stuff. And that's like, man, I know you guys aren't going to listen to me, but I'm going to tell you that the weirdest parts about you are going to be the coolest things about you when you grow up. And it's so weird. The people that all made fun of me for being weird now like the weirdest people in the world, right? Does that make sense? Like, you grow up trying to be corralled into being like everybody else, and then those people who stick to their guns and are themselves are the people that everyone that made fun of look up to. They're the weird actors. They're the people that look odd, that look different, that speak differently. Like, think about the actors that have the weirdest voices in the world. Think about those people as kids and how much they had to have gotten made fun of. And it is, man, if you can just like trudge through and just keep going on your own, like, it's going to be worth it. Matt he can do 100,000 weird voices, and now we use them all the time. And people are like, can I just hear your reel? Can I hear a reel? Like, just the other night, somebody was like, oh, you got to hear Matt's like voice reel. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have your reel? Do you have your reel in your
Here's something. He's the shyest guy in the world. Do you feel like doing any of them, or you want to?
Do you have your reel?
I have the reel, I guess.
Yeah, you should play your reel.
You want to pull up the reel?
It's appropriate, right?
Yeah, pull it up.
Is there?
Maybe there's a little cuss. The swear words are bleeped, I think. Yeah. He's going to put that up. Yes, we're going to make that happen.
PG-13.
It's PG-13, but it's good. Do you have any more? Here you go. Do you have anybody else have any questions while we're getting this pulled up? Yeah. We don't have a trailer for the new movie. We just wrapped 4 days ago. And that's the thing. Like, I bet you a trailer. It all depends on, you have to sell the movie, and so we have to keep everything kind of under wraps. But late August, our plan is to have a like friends and family screening down in Little Rock, and it just is a legal way for us to kind of show it to people, so you guys should be able to see it there. But I imagine what you do basically, like Rain, what you just saw, has been on a 2-year festival run. It won like Moscow Film Fest, it won Atlanta, it did a lot of really good things for us. This film won't take that long to come out, but it can be, years before you're able to kind of like show the final product.
Normally 18 months is about normal from when you start shooting to like when it's in theaters.
Yeah,
so
but we're really pretty quick with what we do. So this film should be done by the end of August, and then we'll start shopping it, and then it will go into festivals and then be out in the world. So we'll probably be shooting our next features when this one's about to come out, which will be, this time next year. So it's a long process.
I don't have the right hookup for my phone, guys.
Is it on your website?
Yeah, it's on his website. I'll give you his website so you can see it. Well, we use a couple different things. We, like for this one, for a 12-hour shift, we had about 1,000 people submit for each role. So Tara actually headed up the casting on this. So she would look through all of those, get her favorites, and then have us watch them. And then we would kind of pick out our favorites. We would reach out to them, see if they were available, and then kind of go from there. And then you always have an amount of local casting that you want to do. It A, saves you money. It B, like gets the community kind of rallied behind you. And it also like, it's just a good way to find new people. So like
to the website. Well, there's a website called Actors Access and LA Casting Breakdown Services. LA Casting is LA only, but Actors Access, you guys could, if you're an actor in this room, how many actors do I have? Any actors? Okay, awesome. So you can actually get on Actors Access and make a profile now. We know you've got your resume already started.
Mm-hmm.
You put your headshots, your resume, and a reel on there, and anyone who's casting in this area, they'll do a zip code and do a 500-mile radius, because you guys could be local to Atlanta, and there's a ton of filmmaking in Atlanta right now.
Yeah.
But on Actors Access, a movie, feature film is shooting in Jonesboro, Arkansas. We need these roles. If you click on those roles and you fit the description, you just click submit, and your headshot and resume goes to whoever's casting. So it would have been me. And so I see all the people who submitted for the role of Carla. I see all of them and where they are located, and then I watch their audition tape and then pick from there. It's really easy.
And you have access to a camera. Like, you can do that, right? So if you get on Actors Access put up your stuff, what'll happen is they'll first just look at you and be like, man, they kind of look like who I envisioned for this character. They're going to reach out to you and say, will you put this audition on tape? So you're going to get something called sides, which is just like a little excerpt of that character. And you kind of put that on tape and you do your thing. And do it how you want to. Do it how you feel, because that's something that we learned. We had more people submit for this than we've ever had for anything we've done. And the thing that we realized that's really unique information is that, man, when people took risks, when people just did it the way that they wanted to do it, like with staying within that character, but they just added something different to it and it immediately stuck out. You know what I mean? So do that. And yes, you can be local to Atlanta because you're close enough. So that means that like you're more tempting of a hire than someone who's not local, because I don't have to pay for your travel. I don't have to pay for, like, I save money. So if you're as good an actor as somebody else who's far away, I'm going to pick you every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could actually, people from here, you can actually have Atlanta or Dallas or New Orleans agents, and actually some in Oklahoma, and there's one in Arkansas. But
yeah,
you all could have agents out of Atlanta right now that could be submitting you on projects.
And like you, I want, like, there's a Western I'm doing that, like, I need you. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I need people that look like you to be extras in this thing for me. Like, that's who I'm looking for. So when that movie comes through Actors Access, man, you gotta show me, because if you guys don't have, and it's scary, right? It's scary to submit that stuff because you're gonna get told no 1,000 times. That's something I'm more than 1,000 times. But you know what? We only need 2 yeses a year for me to make my year. But man, do I get 1,000 or 2 no's.
As an actor, I moved to LA in 2005, and I could not even tell you how many auditions I've been on. I could not even count. There's no way for me to even count. And I was turned down for 99% of them. I just never heard anything back. I got a call back, but never made it. But I booked a show in 2010, and I was employed for 6 years on that one show. So it's you just need a couple of yeses and the tenacity to keep doing it, to be not afraid to just hear no over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, you're going to hear no constantly.
Because it's not no, you suck. It's you're not right for this. Okay,
right.
Well, I'll be right for the next one. No,
yeah.
I'll be right for the next one. Just keep throwing your hat in the ring. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. Learn how to not quit.
That's literally
that's it. We don't quit. You can't get us to quit. And so that's why we're here. And it's that thing of like me telling you, like, that's like you learn that doing the worst class. Man, I'm really not a big fan of school, but I finished everything. And that algebra, like doing algebra and having to do it and not quitting, like taught me that idea of how to not quit. There's so many things that you guys are going to do that you hate. Finish them. Because if you finish them, you're ahead of 80% of people in the world. Because I can't tell you how many people come up and talk to us and tell us that they want to be filmmakers. We say, awesome. When you get that thing done that you're doing, show us. I bet you 1% ends up emailing us something that they finished. Because everyone gets scared that it's not perfect and we're going to hate it. And so if you can finish it and put it out into the world and keep going, you're going to beat 85% of people out there. And that's just no joke.
Do we, any of you guys writers? Screenplay writers?
Hey, don't say shut up. That's great. Hey, we get it. That's how he answers that question too. Hey, man, do it. Show it to people. Show it to people. Because that's us. Like, it's hard. It's hard to write. It's hard to write. It's hard to put it out there because it's your emotions. It's everything that you got wrapped into a piece of paper. And it's terrifying to let people see that. Did you have your hand raised for a second? She sings too? Yes. Hey, that's awesome. Don't belittle yourself. Stop it. And I guarantee you're not perfect, but I bet you're awesome. You know what I mean?
So for AV, what's the class called? What is your class called? Television production. That's so fun. So how many want to be producers out of this group? How many want to produce and direct and that kind of stuff?
Awesome.
Awesome. A little bit. Is there something that, is there an idea of what you know you want to do now?
Feature films? What kind? Love it. Have you started? Have you made some shorts?
I haven't yet. Well, I'm kind of like it. I worked in the class and then for summer camp this past year, and I'm doing it again this year.
Awesome.
Like the film, like in the video each week.
Awesome. That's great. Set those arbitrary deadlines. Like I said, when Matt and I went out to LA, we were living illegally in the back of an office space, and we were just making something every week and putting it out. Nobody asked us to. And like, you have to set those arbitrary deadlines and stick to them. When you say, I'm going to make something and in 2 weeks I'm going to put it out, you put it out. It's not going to be done, dude. Nothing that we ever did was like done. We could have kept going. And that's what they say, right? Like, art isn't finished, it's just abandoned. But if you can't abandon something and go on to the next thing, you're never going to get anywhere. So like the fact that you're editing like that kind of stuff every week and having to put it out, that's beyond helpful.
Yeah, and I think too, it's right now with Instagram and I don't know, TikTok is the new Vine, all that kind of stuff. Everyone wants like, it is, yes.
Yeah.
But people want like that short form content. They want things to go viral. If you can not do that and focus on actual storytelling, even if it's 1 minute video, but the end goal not to go viral, you're gonna be leaps and bounds ahead of everyone. Because that type of, they call it the age of influence, is
dying.
Adaptable. Yeah, it's not like there was a lot of Vine stars who got a lot of acting deals through it, and they got TV shows, and they never went anywhere because they were only funny for 6 seconds. They weren't funny for 22 minutes. So it's like if you can focus on that kind of stuff, because I know it's tempting to want to make something that just gets shared a bunch, but you know, like he was saying, some of their projects that only have 300 views, that's what David Arquette saw, and wanted to have a meeting with them, and they were illegally living in the back of a business, and when he showed up, he couldn't believe that it was just the two of them, but here, 7 years later, we just produced a feature film with them. You know?
Yeah.
So that's what matters, not the number
right
on your YouTube page.
I mean, that's God's honest truth, and we have things that have millions and millions and millions of views, but the things that have real quality to them that like we took time doing have like 300 or 400 views because maybe the world hasn't seen it yet or the world doesn't value it, but the people we wanted to see it saw it, and they saw the value in that, and they saw how much we put into it. That's the one thing about us. Nobody believes that it's as small of a group of people as it is, and that is the worst thing about us and the best thing about us. You have to use your weaknesses as your biggest strengths. That would get us into being just two of us. We could get in places that nobody else could, and then we make it look like it's $1 million. And we've got laughed out of places. We've got laughed out of meetings because it's just two of us. Okay, it's not for us. But then when as we're getting bigger, now people value that as like, holy moly, man, they can do whatever you want. They can make that amount of money look like triple that. Give it to them. Watch what happens. You know what I mean? So it's just like living in that weakness and like exploiting it and making it the best thing about you. It's really fun. Did you have a question, my man? Yeah.
Whenever you're casting for a character, are you more likely to cast an actor that you had in mind when writing the character, but they only did a mediocre job, or an actor that takes some risks with the role?
Ooh, that's fun.
That's a really good question. I'm going to let both of y'all answer that.
First. On the last film, it was definitely the risks, because there was a character who was supposed to be like a tough gangster guy, and everybody kind of played it the same. It was tough and scary. And then this guy named Dusty, which is an appropriate name for him because he's kind of seems like a Dusty, he came in and just did this other weird. He was still scary, but it was kind of goofy, and he was a little bit off kilter and didn't quite know what he was doing. Danny McBride-ish. And just the way he did it was so completely different from what we expected that like it stood out so much that we were like, we just got to have him. If everybody else does it this way and he does it this way and it sticks out so much, we want it to stick out, basically. And then there was a couple of actors on this last film that did that. They were chosen just because they were so different than what we expected.
Yeah.
Something stood out. That was definitely one of the lead actresses. Oh, sorry for the camera. I'm an actor. I know I'm supposed to know how to do this. For the role of Chloe, a girl came in and she was she's British, or sorry, the role of Regina. Her name's Chloe. She's British, and she was having a lot of trouble with her Southern accent, and that was like a big part of, you know, the director was like, I don't know. It's like, is it going to be able to be worked through? But we all loved her take so much because she played the character kind of, not ditzy, just so aloof, just unaware that what she was doing was horrible, and we loved that take. And so it was just kind of like, whatever, we'll figure out what we have to do just to have her. And that's what's so cool about watching. I watched one tape of another girl who I liked okay, and it was literally because she was chewing gum in her audition, and at one point she took it out and just stuck it on the wall behind her, and I thought it was hilarious because everyone else is very prim and proper on their tape. They're like, hi, I'm Tara Perry auditioning for the role of Regina, and then they step back and then they do. There's like no life to it. But if she was the most, like, she was herself, and she put a little bit of her own spunk on the character, and she was the only one who did that, and it stood out the most for me. I know we've written some stuff with actors in mind, and a lot. If you go to their website later and watch all their stuff, you're going to see a lot of the same people. But it's because we love working with the same people, and they're the people that we know can deliver every time. Like, I know you definitely wrote certain things for Tom DeTrinis and Tommy Hobson. Everyone in Squirrel was written. Everything was written for them. And then this movie that we just filmed here, 12-Hour Shift, was not written by any of us. It was written by the director, Bria Grant. And in some of the roles, it was written for a 75 to 85-year-old man. But our friend Tom DeTrinis, we're like, he's so funny. Like, he's so funny. He would completely take the character. Instead of being an old man and feeble, he's just a hypochondriac that is, everyone at the hospital knows him because he comes in every 3 days for something. And he came in and he knocked it out of the park. And now Bria Grant's like, I want to put him in every single thing I'm in. So that's what we mean by bringing, like, your own self, your own spunk, something, because what you've got, what you have, no one else has that, for sure. So it's like, really lean on that when you do auditions and stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, we fight for the people that have worked for us so hard. Like, those people in Squirrel didn't make a dime on it. They all did it for us, and they all did a really, really good job. So you better believe that from this point on, we fight for them. So we got 4 people from Squirrel in this film that we didn't write because we wanted it, and we believe in them, and we know how good they are. 5. Oh, 5 or 6. I mean, yeah, I guess 6. We got 6 roles to be the people that we wanted it to be. And that's all because we worked, Matt and I just got through on this film. The lead actress is the lead actress in a film that when we were younger, we watched, and it was like the first indie film that we saw that we're like, I want to make films like that. I had no idea you could make films like that. And she was just the lead in our film. And all of our friends held up so well with her. They acted right alongside her as like a peer, and that was phenomenal to figure out. And so find people around you that have the same vision as you, that work as hard as you do. You'll all rise to the top, because as we all get to as we get bigger and bigger and bigger, we're bringing everybody with us that have worked so hard for us for so long who deserve it.
We find groups of people as far as actors, like Tim Burton uses the same characters.
Yeah.
The Coen brothers are the same actors. Coen brothers, they all, Frances McDermott's in every single thing that they do.
Yeah.
And,
just about every famous director has either a famous actor or like 3 or 4 people that have been with them since they were kids.
Yeah, and it's because you can rely on them. You know that they're going to bring what they always bring that's special. And also they, on the other side of the camera, they do that as well. Steven Spielberg has had the same editor since the very beginning.
Same casting director since the very beginning.
Because it works. Why would you mess up something that really works? And like these two have such a shorthand between each other, and normally they co-direct and DP together on every film. So they just look at each other, and he's like, I want it, and he's like, I got you. But you couldn't do that on a movie set. People would be like, I'm sorry, you have to be clear. What do you want? But because they have that shorthand, and everyone else that you guys now work with, you all understand each other. That's also a reason why we move as fast as we do, because we film very quickly. Most people, the film that we shot in 20 days should have been over the course of 30 probably, and instead, because when you film, this was a 120-page script, you normally film about 5 minutes of the movie a day, maybe, which seems crazy, but you can only, it's about a minute per page. That's a script, so if your script's 105 pages, it's probably going to be about 105 minutes long. You can film 4 to 7 pages a day, and 7 is if you're like flying, and that translates, each page is about an hour to shoot. maybe hour to 2 hours.
Depends. It could be anywhere from an hour to 4.
Yeah, but you see like big movies like the Avengers, like any of those, they'll film one fight scene, or like Game of Thrones, they'll film one fight scene for 50 days.
Game of Thrones
One
has
scene.
30 camera units. That's not just 30 cameras. That's like 100. That's like 100 people per unit. They have 30 of those.
Because some of the people who shot Game of Thrones when y'all were in Scotland,
Yeah.
it was their off time. They normally work on Game of Thrones year round, but they shot it over New Year's and Christmas. So they were like, oh, we're not busy, and they've just been shooting Game of Thrones all year long until they filmed the Karen Gillan movie.
Yeah. So it's that thing of like, and that's also something like we film a lot in small towns, and like there are 3 or 4 of our like crew members that we will have for the rest of our life that were PAs, which are basically personal assistants that just came on our film and had it. And that's all we're looking for, is like people who have it. You can't describe it really, but you see it. They just have the drive. They will never quit. They have the same mentality that we do. We work really, really hard, but man, is it fun. And now those people are like on our camera crew. They're our like assistant directors. They're people that a year ago just came up to us and were like, hey, hi, how are you? I would love to see what you guys do. You know, there'll be 8 or 10 of those, and one of them will just have it. And we're like, man, I can find a job for you. I can teach anyone who has it how to do anything on a film set, but I can't teach someone who's not nice to be nice. And we don't always get it right. I mean, I'll be honest, on this film, there's a couple people that won't come back. But 85% of them, man, they're coming with us forever. And I'm going to treat them right. And that's the thing. You treat people right, they'll come back to you. Let them go off and film other things. They're going to learn cool things. When they come back, they're going to have that much more knowledge, and they're going to be that much better. Man, you know what I mean? You just got to find that crew that you support, you help them get better. You want them to go off and get knowledge and come back to you and keep going. Because if you treat them right, they'll always come back to you. They'll always come back.
Did we answer your question about casting 6 months ago? Sorry. Any more questions? We won't go on a diatribe about everything.
Film degree useless or no?
I mean, there are
We don't have
certain
film
things
degrees.
in film school. There are so many things that you cannot learn in film school that you will learn on a set. If you came straight to LA at 19 to be a PA, you're going to learn everything that you learn in film school in like a week.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Davis went to film school for 2 years. He loved it, and he worked out great. That he just like stepped on our set because he works at Naughty Dog, which is a video game company.
He works for Sony. He makes video games, but he's always wanted to be in film. He took his vacation to come be my second AD on this film. His vacation to come and work like a dog for 30 days. A naughty dog. And
there are certain things that you can learn in film school. If you're going to go to USC or UCLA, where you're so uber connected at the end of it because of the alumni at that college, great. But if it's anywhere else, you might as well just start getting your hands dirty in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Or,
But there's something to say. Matt and I met in grad school. Yeah. It wasn't film school, but we met in grad school, and we realized that we both had the same drive, and we worked just as hard, and we both realized that we had been involved things where other people had gotten ahead because of the work we had put in, and we hadn't gotten that. Yeah. And so there was a part of that we felt that camaraderie where we're like, hey, let's take care of each other, and let's do this together. And there was something really solid about that, and that wouldn't happen if I hadn't went to grad school. She didn't go to grad school, and she's right here with us. You know what I mean?
But there is something to say that you could find your partners
People.
in crime for the rest of your career. So it's like, it's I don't know, it's half 6 of one, half 6 of the other, really. Because you could find those 3 people that you're like, this is my team, I'm never going to work with anyone else, and you rise up the ranks together, or, you know, so.
You find, and you do, you like.
A film degree won't get you a movie, but it will. You're going to learn so much, but you also learn in it.
You can learn it through YouTube. We have our friends and people who have worked on our films are the visual effects people for Tron Legacy, for Oblivion, for the Marvel movies, and we did stuff in Squirrel that we needed their help, and they're like, man, like we're giving you like the bottom basement price, and I can't do that for $20,000. And so we went out in the yard, figured it out. He went and figured the rest out in After Effects, and we showed it to them, and they were like, I don't know how you did this. And they mean that. They don't mince words. Like, that's a thing. Like, if you want it, you can figure it out. Don't go into debt for it. You can find it on YouTube. There are enough people, whether it be Corridor Digital or whatever, that just do tutorials all the time on how they do stuff. Watch those because they know what they're doing, and then put your own spin on it. Because even if you're trying to copy them, it's always going to have your style. There's things in this film that we were like, we want this to look like the first scene in E.T. when he like steps out and all this stuff, you know, and when we got to it, by God, it looks just like it, but it's in a warehouse filled with cars, so no one else is ever going to know that, but man, is it beautiful. You know, it's that thing, you're just like, you're taking what you love, you're taking what you like, you see in front of you, and then you just like put your own spin on it and go for it. It's just really fun.
Football player boy.
Need to go?
Yes, you guys, I have been instructed to make sure that my football players go to football right now.
Hey, if y'all want to like make sure, if y'all want to talk to us, I'm going to give Dana my email, and if any of you guys that have to leave, if you got any questions, like please like email us, okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Should be considered the best one. Rain?
Best one as in like
Rain?
accolades or like favorite or just in general? Yeah, because it's hard because each one has gotten y'all something else. So it's
Yeah.
like, I love Rain, the short film with the puppets. I love that so much. And because of that, you guys got the next gig. And because we did Squirrel, it got us this job. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like, I guess it depends on, well, this is a question for y'all. Yeah.
I would say, we haven't shown you this, but there's one called I Hate Mondays. And I think we stepped into a world that we had never been in before. It was like me doing the production design. My buddy from Iowa is our art director. It was just, we walked into a world of like big Hollywood almost for a couple of days. And I liked that one the best because we walked out of there and everyone was like, we'll do anything to work with you guys, just let us know. And so it was probably I Hate Mondays, which was like, because it looked like a professional film for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, and we did that in like 2 days. And I think it was a thing where it showed me that we were just as good as everybody else, even though we didn't have the opportunities. So all we needed was the opportunity and we could do it. You know what I mean? So, probably doesn't help anyone.
For me, it would be Rain.
Yeah, that's baby.
Rain was a story that Matt wrote when we were in grad school. And I told Matt in grad school that we were going to make that film in 5 years, and he laughed at me because we hadn't made anything, pretty much. And it was so personal to you that you didn't really want to let me in on it at first. I mean, to be honest, because it was such a personal story. And it meant a lot to me that when we got there, we had done some documentaries for the Jim Henson Company, and we had shown some of the stuff that we had done, and they were like, we would love to work on with you anything that you do. And so that's when we were like, okay, we'll have them build a couple puppets for us. I'm going to build the world. And even right before Rain, you were like, hey, I just want you to know, Jordan, like, I'm going to be very particular on what this film looks like. I don't want to be mean, but I just want to let you know up front it means a lot to me. And I think when we built that first set, I think that squashed all your fears, and you were just kind of like, oh, never mind, this is going to be great. And you know that, so Rain or I Hate Mondays probably showed us, like, okay, we are very good at what we do, and we're just as good as anybody else. We just have to get that opportunity. You make your own luck. You make your own luck. If you guys keep going and you don't quit, you'll get there. That's it. And you don't have to be better than everybody else. You just have to keep going.
The kid who asked, he left.
Oh, he left, I know.
He had to go.
You're welcome.
What software do y'all use whenever you edit?
Premiere. And we got laughed out of Hollywood at first. I'm not kidding you. People wouldn't even touch us with a 10-foot pole because we edited on Premiere. They're like, you got to get on Avid, or you got to get on this other thing. And so we're like, fine, we just won't make anything for you. And then now everybody uses it. You guys know better than us what the new tech is going to be. We shot our 7-time Emmy award-winning documentary on cameras that you can buy for $300 now. It doesn't matter. If you know how to use it, you can do it. We also shot Squirrel on a very cheap, on a camera that costs as much as our SD cards now cost on the cameras we use.
That's nuts. Do you edit as well?
You edit?
On Premiere?
Yeah. He also writes all of his music. He's made a lot of money with his music, and the program he uses was free. And he still uses it.
What is it?
Reaper.
Yeah, I mean, I pay for it now.
Now it's like $60 and you can get the whole thing, but that sure beats, how much is Ableton?
Ableton Live is $300.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, if you want to do it, you don't have to have a lot of money. Because Matt and I sure didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have any money. But you can, like, and people would laugh at us. Like, we would fake photos acting like we had a bigger camera so that people wouldn't laugh us out of the room. Because all we wanted them was to see our final product. And then when they see your final product, nobody asks. What you shot it on doesn't matter. But a lot of people wouldn't give us jobs if they thought we were shooting on $300 cameras. So we just hid it. Because we know what matters and we know what looks good. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Abby's going to be an extra in our next films. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah, we already talked about it.
Yeah. I mean that.
We're like,
you think I'm joking? I'm not joking. Cool. Can we get like a piece of paper and they can write down our email addresses? Hey, okay. If one of you guys have a paper after we get done here, man, just even pass it out. Just write down your email addresses. Yeah, I mean it.
Any other questions about?
Any other questions? Yeah.
What made you want to be a director?
He said, what made you want to be a director? This would be for both me and Matt. What made you want to be a director?
Oh, thank you.
I have your email address.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Just print your name. But you have to print it where Ms. Williams can read it, or I can't.
I think for me, I'm too close. I've just always liked movies and wanted to be involved in the process, I guess. And just being the one, not in charge so much, but just like overseeing everything is just a nice, because you get to see your vision through, which is a cool thing.
Yeah.
I guess.
Same. A movie that made you like that you watched when you were a kid, or a show that you were like, I want to do that.
I remember watching Beetlejuice and Pee-wee's Big Adventure when I was a kid, and finding out that it was made by the same guy, and just being like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, I mean, same thing. Like, you feel like you want to. Like, for me, I ended up being, I tend to produce a lot of stuff as well as directing. And I just kind of fell into that because that kind of fit, like, the role for me. He handles the post side of it, and I handle this side of it. But it is that thing of, like, you almost feel like, I can take this on. I can rally a bunch of people. I can put them all together and let them do their thing and be better than me. You know what I mean? And so I think being a director is the same kind of thing. Like, you just want to facilitate everybody doing their best. You want that actor to be able to show what they can do. You know how to make it look good. You want to make them look as good as possible. And I think there's just something really fun in being at the helm of those projects and doing that. And producing is not fun, but when everybody's on a set doing what they do best and just like rocking it, like, there's no better feeling than feeling like you had a big part in like making that happen.
Final product and being like, oh my gosh, you helped start this whole thing from the ground up.
Yeah, and that's the thing that like a lot of people maybe don't know is that like, if the reason that it is here, that this film is here in Jonesboro is us three. And we just decided last October that that's what we were going to do.
Selfishly, because we wanted to hang out in Jonesboro.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're like, we can film that in Jonesboro. We just want to hang out with our families. For
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, we're the peons here. And Dave, that does not diminish David Arquette and Christina Arquette's like position in this film. They are absolutely instrumental in why we're here. But like, we wanted it to come here. And we found Christina talked to us and she was like, I want it to come here. And we're like, all right, here we go. but it came from our little brains that had no business wanting to do this big of a film here. And however many months later, we just finished wrapping on it, and now we're on to the next one.
I was just going to say that I don't think making movies isn't particularly fun. Making music isn't really fun, but like having made a movie is awesome, and having made having the final product is what I do it for, I think.
Same.
Because you have to, it's really a hustle to make, and then but when it's over, you're like, oh my gosh, we made a movie. This is so cool, and like having that is what I do it for, I guess.
Yeah, it's really hard.
It's not about the journey.
No, it's not. Not
I
about
have
the journey
yeah.
at all. No.
But there are a lot of fun aspects of it on the way. But it is all about hard work during it.
I'm not supposed to destroy anything.
Yeah. Do you guys have any more questions? Is there anything? Yeah. Well, I mean, we.
Did you say Corridor Digital?
Corridor Digital. Matt and I kind of started that way. We know those people, and we have a lot of mutual friends in common. We don't really want to do that because if you knew, they are stuck. Not that that's bad, they're doing great, but Corridor Digital, we know for a fact, is stuck. They just want to be making movies like us, and they are having a very hard time getting out of that YouTube space. So we never really, we put things up on YouTube, but we never cared about developing a following. We never really wanted to be like internet famous. We just want to make movies. And you find that like, it's not, like for us, it's not about being famous. I just want to make things. I just want to create. And so, no, we don't want to be like Corridor Digital because we know the struggle that they're having and trying to like make their own films. But man, do we respect them because they are doing some really cool things.
I think most YouTube-centric filmmakers, all like they're famous on YouTube and doing stuff on YouTube, but all of their goals is to make movies. Like
that's it.
Like the Rocket Jump people, they just want to make films. Film Riot, it's all about trying to get to the feature film part. They're just taking a different route, and we took a weird route too. It's all just like how you get there, I guess.
Yeah, and I saw questions over here. Yeah.
What tips can you give to aspiring actors or
Voice actors or actors?
Let me.
Yeah, she was on the cartoon.
Yeah. I think for voice acting is getting those, if you do lots of different character voices, make them as distinct as possible and make them, make sure you can be able to do it for 20 minutes at a time. You can make your own reel. You don't have to use, like an actor's reel is anything I've ever done. So I was in an episode of 2.5 Men. I did the Fresh Bee Band for 6 years. So I took clips of all of those shows and that's my reel. So when I'm auditioning for a new job or a casting director asks about me, I give them, that's basically your resume as well as your resume. So then they watch it and they're like, okay, I get a little bit of what you can do. The voiceover, you can make it up because it could have been on anything. So you can just, if you're doing your voice like this and just add some sound effects behind it, like you're at a carnival and it's like, I'd like to win that big old teddy bear. You just do that and put some sound effects behind it. It seems like you were on a cartoon. So you can do that for 5 to 10 voices. You only need about 35 seconds to a minute maybe for a voiceover. And then for an acting video or for an acting reel, if you've never done anything before besides like stage stuff, you can write a scene and have you and a buddy do it, have someone film it and edit it, and then that be your reel. Because on Actors Access, the site I was telling you about, there's a place on there where you can add a clip of something. So if you're like, this is, you know, Tara, this is her clip of a film called A Day in the Sunshine. And it's not a film, but it's just you and your friend and you did a scene. So the people watching your stuff will just at least have an idea of who you are and what you can do. We've actually been hired to do that for people before who don't have any content for a reel. We wrote 3 short films and they were all about 1.5 pages a piece, and it basically was a scene from a movie, and then we came in, we filmed it for them, edited it and gave it to them, and they booked jobs. Actually, one booked it's a Marvel TV show in Atlanta. I don't know what it is, but she didn't even audition. She just was like, well, I have my reel, and they sent the reel that we made for them, and she booked a role from that. So that's kind of just like a video calling card for you.
Get on Fiverr.com and look up like voice acting gigs. Submit on there. It's a great way to get started.
There's also a website called voice123.com, and it's for non-union. You can submit to every single gig that's out there, and that's including commercials. Like, I don't have a good commercial voice, like, oh, for $9.99, come down. I can't do that at all. He's got a great one. I can just do like cartoony voices. But if you can do both, have a separate reel, like a commercial reel where you're pitching, and then a fun character. voice. But those are things that you can do right now, like in Jonesboro. Like you don't have to move to LA to do any of that, especially getting your reel, because if you have your scene ready to go on Actors Access, you could submit to anything filming within 500 miles of here right now, and you could book something this weekend. Like there are a ton of projects going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my plan right now,
Mhm.
just like I just finished high school, so my plan is to go like get a degree in case and
Yeah.
perfect my craft.
Yeah.
While I'm in college, and
Yep.
after that, try to move out to LA. What should I expect? Like how daunting is it moving out there?
It's expensive. It is, and it's getting more expensive. So if you can find someone to live with, it's always roommates always help. I don't know how people look at roommates, but roommates like
I think also if you go to college, you'll probably meet some.
you'll meet
other
some people who also want to go out to California. You can do it together and rent a house and have 5 people living in it. Like it keeps you creative as well doing that.
Just the one mistake that I see a lot of people that move out to LA do is that they get caught up in LA and like they just start enjoying that, and I'll see them like making money during the week and then spending it on the weekend going out, whatever. And that's fine, but if you want to make it, Matt and I didn't see anything but our rooms for 3.5, 4 years, unless we were filming. It's still pretty much like that because we just like working on our own stuff. If you go out there, you can make a living, spend that money on your craft. Put it back into yourself. You know what I mean? Like because man, it can get expensive, but we eat really cheap in LA, cheaper than we can eat here, and that's the truth. So like you can make it happen. It's not as daunting as possible. We live on streets where like there's no traffic. Like there are quiet parts of LA, there are loud parts of LA, but like you can make it. You just have to be responsible and know what you want and go after it. Just put your head down and work.
One thing that people do is they go out and they're like, I'm going to give myself 9 months. Don't ever put a time limit on it. It's fine if you're there for a year and a half and you're like, man, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is different. Like, no shame in doing something else. No. But don't go out there and be like, I'm going to make it in a year. Like, that's just, it's irresponsible.
Set goals and say them out loud.
Yeah, so if you're like, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to make 3 short films in the next 6 months and I'm going to apply for PA job, because you can apply for, there's so many lots. There's Sony lot, Fox lot, Paramount, CBS, Radford, CBS, Warner Brothers, Universal. Like those are 7 just off the top of my head, and there's more than that. Those are just your major ones.
Your age all the time.
All the time. Raleigh Studios, Red Studios, Raleigh Studios, Vista Studios, Culver Studios. All of those places you can walk in and be like, I'd like to submit to be a PA. Like you submit, get as much stage time as you can. Like the show that I was on, it was a Nickelodeon show, and that's like a smaller versus like Grey's Anatomy or whatever, like smaller cast, smaller crew, smaller everything. There were still probably 9 PAs every single day, and it's PAs would come up to us and be like, we're gonna go get coffee, do you want anything? Or a PA's like, the director is like, hey, come here, and it's like you get lucky sometimes and you get like a better job. But people are PAs for a year, 2, 3, and then you get upgraded, and then you start working as second AD, and then or a production coordinator. Like you get higher and higher and higher, and working that ladder. In the meantime, on your off time, if you're writing your own scripts, if you're shooting your own shorts, if you're, doing your own voiceover stuff, like you constantly work on that. But your day job, instead of, because you can definitely be a bartender, do catering. There's all kinds of jobs out there. But if you're working in the industry for a low-level job, you're going to make so many connections, and you're going to get so much time on set that is absolutely invaluable. And that's the kind of stuff that you couldn't even learn in film school, but you would learn it by being a PA for 2 weeks on a real set.
But I was a carpenter out in LA for almost 2 years. I didn't tell anybody. Matt was doing the same kind of thing, but like I would come home, I was fixing up a house for a guy in Beverly Hills for 2 years. And I did it all the time. I did it like 4 days a week. And then we were still making the same amount of content as we were when I wasn't doing that. But I didn't want to work for somebody in the film world. I wanted to work something completely different so that my creativity was not taken out of my hands for something I didn't care about. So I got to just do that carpentry because I knew how to do it, and then we'd come home and we'd make stuff. You know what I mean? And man, was it fun when I was like, hey man, thanks a ton for everything. I'm not going to be coming in next week. What are you doing? Oh, I'm making film. And that guy has more money than anybody. And he was jealous of me because he was trying to break into the film world and he couldn't with all the money in the world. Doesn't matter. We are making films and he's still trying to. And that's nothing against him. God, he's fine. But you know what I mean? It doesn't matter how much money you came from. I lived in a trailer. Matt lived in a trailer. And we moved out to L.A. I saved up money landscaping. You know what I mean? I saved up $7,000 landscaping over 2 years. You saved up money from photo retouching. We went out to L.A. with 5 months of rent. And we said, all right, we got to do this. And that's what we did. You know what I mean? So.
Also, don't move to Hollywood.
Don't move to Hollywood. Worst idea.
Silver Lake or Los Feliz.
Yeah. Check out like North Hollywood, Burbank. Like those are the quieter areas where like people want to work. Glendale's great too.
But Burbank, like, because we ride the metro a lot. That's the like subway,
Train.
LA's subway. It's not very extensive, but if you don't want to move out there with a car because it's super expensive. If you have a bike, we bike everywhere. We ride the train and bike. So anywhere from like Sherman Oaks, North Hollywood, Burbank, all the way downtown, you can ride that metro. And
You won't remember any of this, but email us. Email us. Like if any of you guys end up wanting to, email us and we will write down everywhere where you should move, what it kind of looks like, what your rent's going to probably be, so you can get an idea of what you need to do before you go out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Any other questions?
Y'all just tell us when you get bored. Yeah. Yes. I did terrible.
Where'd you go to undergrad?
Weber State University.
And then you went to?
I went to Graceland University. It's smaller than probably Nettleton. I graduated with a 2.7 GPA, and I ended up having to get my requirements for a very good grad school waived because I didn't have a good enough GPA. And that's all my fault. But you know what? I was the keynote speaker at my university last year and spoke in front of the entire university. So, like, it doesn't matter. You can screw up sometimes. It doesn't mean you're done. If you've got it, you've got it. Just don't stop. But I have. Don't worry. I have screwed up a lot. So if you've screwed up and don't feel like you're like worthy of this kind of thing, I've probably done worse. But you know what? We treat people right, and that gets us a long way.
How many seniors are in here right now? All the seniors are gone, but you came back.
Awesome, man. That's
what
great.
about juniors? So you'll be a senior in August. Is that right?
Love it.
All right. And do y'all have plans to go to college, or are you going to?
Air Force.
Air Force, nice.
Awesome. That's great, guys. That's great. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Seniors already done? They just get to leave 3 weeks early? What? Senioritis, I guess.
And if y'all want, I know probably all of y'all don't want to stay here. If there are people that want to keep coming up here and talking, just a few of you, feel free. You don't feel like you have to stay for us. That's the last thing on planet Earth we want you to do. But if you want to stick around and ask us some questions, man, come on. Keep doing it.